Okay, we're in turn 51 again, actually, for just a brief addition before we go on to turn 52. And that is because what I didn't show is that we decided to scout the massive Agarthan Death stack, so the one that's on this throne. We, knowing there might be a battle, dropped our god, our monolith, on it in the hopes that we might bait some gems and so we could see the army, which we did. So here it is. Here's the Agarthan Doom stack, and this is important if it comes into play later. So what have we got? We've got, I'll show you the unit list in a moment, but you've got a core of ethereals that are having protection buffs layered on them at the moment. So these big umbral are ethereal, very high damage, resistant, etherealized units that respond very well to natural prot buffs and have this armor-piercing life drain attack. So you get half of the HP damage you do back in healing, which when you're doing 22 AP magical damage at an attack value of 13 and your ethereal to mitigate damage coming back, actually makes these units very, very tanky. You've got a group of living Mercuries as the poison core, a long, long line of Seal Guard and Ancient Ones, all of which are sacreds, which benefit from this massive bless with the regen and the blood surge and the attack skill +2 and all these resistances. You might actually hit and kill something, trigger the blood surge, and then actually do some significant damage with these sacreds. But the real heroes, of course, are the mages. All sorts of geared and boosted oracles. We've got one oracle here that's holding a skull staff and a ring of sorcery, so it has that D4. It's got a crystal matrix on it to boost it even further. So this is their big death caster for all your for things like darkness, which pale ones don't care about. They could make rigor mortis plays, which most of their units would be invulnerable to. This is just a really quite an intimidating stack. There it is if you want to see it. This is probably your poison and poison protection core. Olm Sage, and then 2 oracles of subterranean fire and one of the dead. So these are your big battlefield-wide casters. They've got a little small pyromancer there doing don't know what. This also, you can get some buffs out of this core here. And then just a big cluster of some quite damaging, impressive units. So the monolith gets destroyed by the living Mercuries. Or is it shattered? One or the other by the mages. Either way, that's fine. It's what we expected. We get to see what we're doing. They spend a few gems and we kill a few units. Not bad. In fact, we kill 7 of the ancient ones before they even contact the Rushin army. Anyway, that's just important information to know. If we see this army coming our way in the future, or if we see it moving towards Pangaea, we can provide that intelligence, and I wanted to include that before I went on to turn 52. Alright, turn 52. Moving stuff around, the god is now moving into what will eventually be a safe space in this lake over here, although I might cast in the interim. What the plan is with SSG-73 is to have that mage hiding somewhere in this lake, not where people suspect it, in my capital, somewhere protected, distant in terms of number of squares from any enemy lab, and that is where he will hide deep underwater and cast Arcane Nexus. Eventually, that's the plan. He's going to hide in a province no one would expect, probably Dark Waves, probably Province 4. Or Lake Seaweed, one or the other, but probably 4, because then there'll be no chance of people having scouting information on that unless they've been really meta and created black servants and things like that. So that's being set up there. We cast another Lich and we restored one. I love Immortals. I love Immortals. Because I like medium to long games, Immortality, useful. And then, series of battles. The first one proves that I do learn from my mistakes. So this time I knew that there were mages here. The were hyenas and stuff. So I just adjusted my order a little bit and my structure. So what have we got? We've got mass protection, we've got some swarms and lesser air elementals. The idea here is that they disrupt the casting of all these guys at the back, hopefully. Meanwhile, the buff troops will absolutely demolish the militia. And hopefully cause a HP rout. If they don't, there's even more distractions being caused by the wolves, which will hopefully, if they had created more fire elementals, draw them off. If they're creating, and also increase the chance that the mages will be gummed up. So this fire elemental, for example, just wasted its time killing a lesser air elemental that I put out while hanging around near all its friends. Our troops are pretty much finished with the front line at this point, working through. But you can tell with Howl on your side, this is always going to be gum and gunked up, and we're going to be able to fight our way through. We've got cleansing water to help with the undead. Either way, so it costs us 13 turtle warriors and 2 Keenids, but we kill a Magus, a Spider Clan sorcerer, a Voice of Lion, a Were Hyena, which is a Buddha, a Long Dead Horseman, put the province under siege, and we recover some free Earth Boots. So with a little bit of adjustment to the script and the structure of the army, Battle of Droigar successful. Varnheim is still in the game raiding. Agartha attacked Niflheim. Atlantis raided Machaca with 1 Mage of the Deep, which is fine against PD. Heavier raiding with some Basalt Kings and also moving closer to the strategic area. Therados came out. So the idea here, Therados had a Telkeen in this fort that was placed under siege, which I believe is now breached. We'll check that in a moment. The idea was to come out of the fort, have a look what's here, and then all this Telkeen is doing, because we expect there to be some super combatants here, and indeed there is a gate-cleaving, fully geared Melkart, which is a pretty freaking dangerous opponent. That is 64 damage armor negating at attack value 19. That is impressive, and 27 protection. Not what our Telkeen is geared to fight. All our Telkeen wants to do is see what's here, and then if there's anything that's human and vulnerable, which includes this Stormcaller Gem Carrier with a Gate Cleaver, an Ice Helmet, a Mail of Displacement, a Claw Talisman, a Cat Charm, a bunch of gems, and presumably some blood saves attached, we're going to just poison and then leave. So we're going to poison the mage. The regenerating sacreds are going to be able to survive this, but the blood slaves might not. So all this Telkeen does is hang around, casting a buff for a moment. Doesn't hang around long because we're worried the Melkart might have had flying boots or something, and a Melkart with flying boots could have ganked our super combatant. That would certainly be an entirely reasonable guess for them to make, that we would poke out with something big and tough. Anyway, hangs around for a bit, and then off he goes. That triggers the end of the fight. That triggers all the poison ticks. And that's a number of blood slaves and the Stormcaller dead, which is pretty cool. So this fortification is now breached, but while it is breached, that happened. There was also a remote spell cast, which I think killed 1 enemy mage as well, so we're really whittling them down. It's Brides in Waiting and a Melkart now, and this army of 255 has had time to come over. Therados is getting the conjuration of the big guns happening now. So we're starting to get Telkeens. We've got the Air Queens being accumulated. So Ulla is in this army. I'm not sure if the others are deployed at this moment. I need to check my notes as to where they are. Either way, we're going to start monopolizing the elemental royalty. Therados, with appropriate gems, doesn't really care that it only has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 provinces, 10 provinces. Doesn't really care. It's a gem economy. There's no upkeep on the troops. They pay for their mages, sure, but that's about it. And they have amazing conjuration potential. So they can just build, they can just summon stuff to buff their ghost armies or to act as independent super combatants. They do that better than any other member of this team, especially since they can create gear en masse and for cheap. So that's, Therados is starting to come into their own. So we saw that. We saw the Battle of Andoria. There was the Battle of Beratos, where they just had to storm the fort. There was nothing really inside, which means the force is elsewhere, probably on the throne. But we now own Beratos, and we own Tin and Oak. So this turn we captured 2 enemy capitals. 122 Turtle Warriors stormed the fort and killed the nothing that was inside. And then there was some random event attacks. Luckily, they landed mostly on places where Atlantis had stuff. So 22 barbarians against Coral Guards got themselves murdered. We lost to Centaurs because we lose to anything. But here, the barbarians very stupidly attacked 3 geared Basalt Kings and just bounced off them as if they were nothing. So, 2 capitals this turn. Huge change to the economy. Unfortunately, they're both in pretty bad shape. So it's only about 5% extra gold income at the moment. Tinanog is at 20,000 population. That's because it was repeatedly hit by blight before it was eventually taken. Team Machaka used a bunch of province killers on it, and as a result, it only has 20,000 population. By comparison, our capital has 40,000 population. But once we kill the unrest and we get some good scales on it, there's some decent income to be had there. And of course, the extra air gems, nature gems, and earth gems never go astray, because soon we will want to melt everything into astral pearls. I am pearl farming like you would not believe at the moment, converting my water into pearls, and it's only going to accelerate. We do need water gems to buy telkeens, but we also need to be building up a very large astral pearl supply in order to cast Arcane Nexus. Our plan is to do Nexus with like 700, 800 pearls, probably, thereabouts. We're working out the budget as we go. And we took Beratos itself. Now, Beratos has more population, but it's seen better days in terms of unrest. That, to me, is not just conquest unrest. They probably blood hunted their capital. So, Therados is going to temple it, they're going to preach it, they're going to get it up to scratch. Going to have to get the Telkeens off it, because Telkeens obviously have Reaper effects. Meanwhile, Atlantis has locked down and breached Agaria. So that throne hopefully will take off that team soon. These Basalt Kings are a little bit out on a limb, but they're kind of playing interference for my army here, which really just needs more siege strength. The question for me is, do I bring this army over to break Droigar? And I think the answer is yes, I need to bring some troops over to break Droigar. I just need to make sure that things hold firm in a position where I can defend this throne if needed, particularly in the event that Agartha decides to forget about their war against Rus. So if I was Agartha, what I'd do here is I'd take Formoria, right? I take Formoria, and then I basically have two productive centers, which may be divided but are fully capable of supporting themselves. Like Formoria in this area here will produce a lot of gems because you've got a throne, got some territory that's probably very well searched. There'll be some income. You can recruit mages and things here, so you'll be able to defend yourself over here around this throne, defend yourself around over here. The alternative is they march east, they try and kill us, consolidate this area, abandon this area to Rus. We'll see which option they take. And so far as our allies go, they've had a little bit of a harder time. They'll probably take Old Woods, 48. The Enkidu are doing pretty well down here. This sign that they're cut off down here, however, is a problem. But they do seem to have a good reserve over here. So what I'd want to do as them is definitely re-link up. Like, try and reconquer these, re-establish your lines of communication. And then really, maybe crack Arcocephali. If you can't crack this throne, they'd want this throne, right? They want the points. We can't take the points if we also take this one, because that would be getting very close to a winning margin, which would be a real problem. Actually, no, it wouldn't be a winning margin. We'd need, hypothetically, like this one as well or something. So we could take them hypothetically, which is even more reason for them to want it, so we can't take it. But if I was them, I would want Arcocephali for the economy, and then if you can secure Clon and 168, that's great. The other reason I say Arcocephali is it's further away from Agartha itself. This 168 is always going to be easy to defend because it's close to Agartha itself. They're always going to have this problem, though, that Agartha can come out this way and attack So they seem to be having Melkarts. Melkarts shield this flank, which is honestly a good idea, unless a bunch of Umbrals and Penumbrals come out. So that's turn 52. Very good for us. Seized some territory, besieged some castles, didn't lose a huge amount, and everything is trucking along pretty well. In particular, the Therodian military is just growing turn by turn. So very happy. Going to come back in turn 53. Okay. Turn 53. We're starting to be shipped large numbers of gems now. This is for both our important areas of use and also the 69 water gems, as well as being an act of humour on the part of Balan Stalin playing Atlantis, is because my pearl farming is becoming so aggressive now. You'll be seeing the turn-to-turn jump in my pearls, that I need water gems to keep the pearl farming going turn to turn. Research Enchantment 9 is complete, and you know what that means. Once we've got the gems, we're ready to go. We're starting to spread out Dominion. We're starting to have a little bit of a defensive perimeter. We've got some nice forts that we're going to be able to anchor our corners on. So if we can get Arcane Nexus up, we're actually in a pretty good position to be bunkered up and defend and let those gems come to us and win us the game in macro terms. And I did just say that term, win the game, because I now have grand ideas. We all have grand ideas. We'll come back to that after we discuss this turn. I brought the god back to the capital because of a change of plans. Got another Lich. Now, last turn, you would have seen on my... I didn't talk about it at the time, but you would have seen on the item arrival that Theridos sent us a Rune Smasher, a Starshine Skullcap, and an Eye of the Void. I didn't deploy the Eye of the Void because I want to be... there's another mage that I think I need it on. So Singarius is our first Mind Hunt caster who was in range of Andoria. So I was able to eliminate Babila. Babila was one of the brides in waiting. So one of the brides in waiting besieging our fort got eliminated before the Therodian army arrived. Then the Therodian army arrived. And from its original force, this is much diminished. Most of the brides in waiting are dead. Majority of them have already been killed. The other smaller human mages are all dead. And it's just this one Melkart, really. And against them is this army of Theridos. And this isn't the field army of Theridos, this is the home army. This is the reserve army that he kept around just to defend his homeland. The main field army just took Beratos last turn. It's off doing stuff. So we've got one Telkeen. Acteos. Acteos has a Shadow Brand, a Sword of Sharpness, Spirit Helmet, Armor of Knights, Boots of Youth, Girdle of Might, and Ring of Regeneration, giving 6 Reinvigoration. Not bad. Selection of gems. Aella is not armored, so Aella is in caster mode. Really, Aella wants like an Iron Face or something to up her up, really. But she's wearing conventional armor, so that's something. But Queens of Air really benefit from like an Iron Face instead of a Spirit Helm, something like that. So in full caster mode, a bunch of Devils. Devils being quite good against tough units because of the paralyzing poison delivered on this piercing barbed tail attack, and also the fact that the trident is just 24 piercing. So between that and the paralyzing poison, which if you get it through to the target is AN, they're good units against tough enemies, plus they have reasonable attack density because they have 2 attacks, so they have more than a square of ordinary infantry. And some Spectrals. We've got a Hecateride, whatever. At the point, I'm labouring the point. Unless the Melkart is able to SC in this scenario, it doesn't have a chance, and the Melkart does not have a chance to SC in this scenario, because what we do is we drop all the Devils straight away, and the idea there was to prevent it getting too much casting off. It did actually get a couple of spells off, which is unfortunate, but as you can see, eventually it's harassed and murdered. Nothing fancy, just a whole bunch of Devil attacks on something which has zero defense due to harassment. And then the other mage will be murdered. Done. That's all she wrote. So, in the Battle of Andoria, 9 Therodian hoplites were killed. Nothing else was killed except for the enemy. All of it. So, gate cleavers, gems, gear, cap-only recruits, it's all gone. Beratos, that was Beratos' last throw of the dice. If that Andoria battle had worked, and it might have worked if not for the Vengeful Waters stopping the breach 1 turn earlier than it was. That army, with 1 less turn of weakening, might have gotten inside the fort and killed the defenders, considering the defenders was just basically a Telkeen. That was it. Melkart probably could have dealt with it. Anyway, Baron Crag. So, a raid with some Ictiad mercenaries. Successful. Unfortunately here, a raiding Basalt King hit a much larger force with magical support and a bunch of PD and died. We raided with some mercenaries, so we used Vedi and Lobos, 2 mercenary groups, just to put some pressure on Machaca. Atlantis using another one of their raiders to clear out some undead in Indy province, and then we killed a Pangean scout and a false prophet which was causing bad events in our province using Vengeful Water. Cool. In terms of other military moves, not much. We're deciding how we break Agaria. It's probably going to be the case that we use the Therodian army, actually. We're considering it right now. Atlantis is kind of trying to consolidate with me in order to give me a little bit more protection. I'm bringing more troops, led by the Sleeper, and some extra death magic support to reinforce the siege of Droigar. I also got given a Gate Cleaver. The Gate Cleaver is going to come in and help break the walls as well. But most of the force is consolidating, patrolling around our throne, around Tino, getting all this area in order. We're going to have to preach, get it under control, just until we find out exactly what's going on. Because the Agarthan army looks like it's gone to Femoria, so I'm feeling a little bit safe right now, because I think they're going to seize Femoria, which is what I would do in the situation. It'll give you income from all these provinces, which you're not currently getting income from. There's no forts, so if they seize Femoria, suddenly they get gold from all these provinces, and they'll have Arcocephali, their own capital, and Femoria to run something of an economy and bargain from. So a decent position all up. Certainly, I don't want to go tangle with this army over here because it's going to be reinforced by whatever is in the capital, and there's extra Magma Children over there. So if Agartha is able to consolidate all of these forces without being caught, say, for example, by this kill squad of triple Basalt King kill squad, and consolidate them, that army will probably be as scary or even more scary than the one that took this throne, depending on how many oracles they have in their cap. But I am bringing troops and mages over. I do want to take Droigar. Therados has secured Andoria. He'll patrol it down, and life will be sweet. Atlantis is doing all the right things, holding on to this throne province so that we get it, not Hinnom. Raiding to make Machaka's life difficult with me, so we've basically pushed Machaka down to like 4 provinces at this point. Yeah, thereabouts. Which is not bad, and that gives us a little boost too, and helping a brother out by sending the Basalt Kings down south just to help out this soft flank of Pelagia, particularly if it becomes necessary for us to push on Arcocephali and just, if you can imagine, rip Agartha out of this sphere of the map. But that's enough of that. You heard me use a magic word before. I think it's the first time I might have used it. We are thinking about how we can win this game. Because now that we've stopped someone else winning, and in particular, we've stopped the previous game leader winning. The previous game leader is now reduced. One is 4 provinces. One is like an under siege province. And one isolated fort over here, so very close to being eliminated. And one is stronger, but really not going to be able to throw everyone back. Agartha is still probably capable of beating, because his army is so strong, beating any one other player in the game, but he can't beat a whole team. Not sustainably, the economy is just not there. So they're not going to win the game. Someone's got to win the game. Now, it's difficult for us to just roll out and win without a plan, because our allies, in inverted commas, are still actually really quite powerful. Pangaea will have really good magic. We know they've got a statue. They'll have an endless supply of chaff. And Pangaea is just better as a land combat nation than Pelagia. Hinnom will have SCs to match Therados' SCs. Except they will have been recruiting them from the capital, which means they can have quite a lot of them by now, whereas Therados is only really getting themselves online now. They will be supported by and Saramatia, not slouches, not as strong as Hinnom. Hinnom is by far the power on this team, but the Enkidu are capable of making some pretty nice items and supporting the Giants accordingly. So 2 good strong squads, and a potential spoiler in the forms of the surviving Varnheim. Very important we keep Varnheim on side. We stuck with the elves this whole game, and we need them through to the end, because even now, my less geared armies would be chewed up by Vanhirs. I need these mage-supported armies to reliably counter the Vanhirs. And I don't have many of those. I just burnt a communion. So Pelagia can win fights, but not if you have to burn a communion for every one you win. And it's not a question. I did not have to do that for that battle. I did it because I did not know what was in the fort, and I wanted all my buffs just in case there was a big army there, for example, in which case I would have needed it. but whenever do you know exactly what you're going to be facing? That's rare in Dominions. So, plan on how to win this game. We're going to preach our Dominion out. We're going to continue this war in line with the Treaty of Lanka. And then when we're ready, we're going to put up Arcane Nexus. And Arcane Nexus is going to give us the gem income we need to at least run a gem economy that is capable of keeping up with our opponents. Because remember, all of our opponents have at least some blood. And blood always trumps non-blood. Well, not always. It's very easy for blood to trump non-blood in the endgame. If Hinnom and Saramatia do not have a blood economy, I will eat my freaking hat. And they can do a lot with that blood economy. There will be a small blood economy going over with Pangaea and Niflheim. So we will be outcompeted as well as outfought if we don't have a long-term plan. So here are the 3 potential long-term plans. They are Arcane Nexus, followed by a defensive war, and moving into an infinite wish farm loop. I'll explain wish farming when we get closer, if we indeed go that way. So we can go defensive, wish farm loop, and just break the freaking economy of the entire game. We can go Arcane Nexus, we can wish up some really hardcore super combatants, and we can go try and win with an SC push rush. Or we can go Arcane Nexus and we can rush our asses off. Of all these plans, my instinct is to be a little bit defensive and wait for someone else to cancel a pact, because every turn someone doesn't cancel a pact in the face of Arcane Nexus is an extra turn of massive gem income for us. Now, our treaty specifically, there's no ambiguity, specifically prevents people attempting to dispel our globals, and that applies to everyone on this map that isn't either Team Chris or Varnheim. And it prevents trading with our enemies, who are Team Chris. So, unless Agartha, Beratos, Machaka still have enough gems and a mage to do a dispel attempt, or someone wants to break the treaty, Arcane Nexus won't go down once it goes up. And because the treaty takes so long to cancel, very explicitly, we should get a good number of turns run up and warning before people start coming for us, which gives us turn to harvest some gems off Arcane Nexus and probably get at least 1 wisher, maybe 2 wish farmers going, which would be really, really sweet in terms of the effective gem incomes. Not going to bore you with the math on that right now, but I can see a way. Now that we've stopped this rush, we've got a reasonable economy because we've got a bunch of capitals and some good land. Vengeful Waters is up with several hundred water gems, and that helps us defend our territory by denying the enemy mobility anywhere that we really care about, which are our coastal provinces and our water provinces. And you might notice most of our provinces, the overwhelming majority, are coastal or water. Our holdings that aren't coastal, really, it's like the Thrones and Tien and Og and a few little bits and pieces here and there. Other than that, if we can get Dominion on it, it'll be size 6 water elemental city. Just need to preach up. That's why we're putting pressure over here. Unfortunate if you are a mage in Lanka and the Tandals tick up over, and I don't apologize for the fact that I am absolutely going to try and preach and push this. Yeah, anyway. That's our thinking. Our thinking is that Arcane Nexus, coupled with, if we can go Alt 9, grab Wish. My Arcane Nexus caster can also be a Wish caster with a little bit of boosting. And then getting a second Wish caster as possible. The spiral continues. Anyway, we'll discuss that if indeed I do it. Let's go to turn 54 for now. Okay, turn 54. We've been given even more gems by Atlantis and a Gate Cleaver. We got Evo 7, and we are going to Alt 9. Alt 9 for Wish. Mindhunt this turn, unfortunately, it targeted an Oracle, which is great, and failed, which is unfortunate. There was a battle in Agaria. This looks like Machaka dropped their Disciple. Yeah, they dropped their Disciple in for Throne Defense. So what have we got? Gleaming Gold, Mango Shaparing. So 27 defense build. Dragon Helmet, Armor of Knights, Messenger, Regen, Girdle of Might. Only 16 hit points at twice spawn, so they don't care. They know they're going to lose, and that's okay. So what have we got? Power of the Spheres and some sort of wipe? No, we're still doing a buff cycle. So what are we at? We're at 30% regen, but you're only at 17 health, mate. What's your plan here? Oh, Creeping Doom. Okay. Oh, Creeping Doom, Foul Vapors. Alright, that makes more sense. And that makes the casualty counts make more sense too. Because they'll murder him, but he's got all kinds of things going on. Mostly a lot of defense and ore. So unless the water elementals can get in... Ooh, nice shockwave too. And obviously Soul Vortex. Oh yeah, but when the troops ran off, he gets nommed. So there we are. 3 Mages of the Deep, 12 Coral Guards, and 2 Deep 1 Spearmen in exchange for those items. I mean, I'll probably take that. But they had to if they wanted to hold the throne, so I understand why they did that too. Arthur Frayne will just respawn in his twice-spawn body now. But that's one less defender, at least for now. Black Alps, the raiding with the Mercenary Raptors continues. Agartha is still trying to counter-raid. Atlantis is raiding. Atlantis clearing those centaurs for me. Agartha pushing me back. We killed the Bakamona Chief. Sorry, allies, but get our Dominion out of your lands. Oh, and I snuck some Veti onto Machaka to try and get to the other side of it and was detected. So, well, okay. So, let's talk about this turn. It's a relatively short one. This positioning, this should make sense to anyone who's watching. So this is basically a case of super combatants trying to screen an army against enemy armies and be as miserable as possible to our enemy. In particular, the fact Beratos will have 0 income this turn. Kind of nifty. They don't want to fight full enemy armies, but they kind of want to screen those armies out a little bit to provide protection to the big bulky army to stop it being, you know, harassed or gem-baited or anything as it moves in and tries to take Droigar. We're going to bring our Gate Cleaver in, more troops coming in. We should crack this thing soon. And when we do, we'll take a province that hopefully will give us a whole bunch of gems. Don't turn down gems. I'm talking about Arcane Nexus being really important, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 extra gems per turn. It's not nothing. And all we have to do is fight for it and seize the fort, and there's value to it for other reasons. In particular, I want me some High Magi and some Magi. Like, Fire, Earth, Astral, thank you very much. I do like. I do want. So we will take. We move Theridos onto Agaria. Theridos will now do the dirty work of actually seizing it. Atlantis is going to go south and meet up with me down here because this is where we're going to need more assistance. This front will be safe with Theridos guarding it. Plus, we should get warning if indeed our allies decide to turn on us at any point. This is a lot of units. Longdeads, Muzziks, Devils, and Armies, and a Melkart. Cool. Yeah, so this fort is the next immediate goal, and then a slow follow-up campaign to seize the last bits of Agartha. So probably Arcocephali. They hold for Moria now, so this army over here is free. So Roos is in trouble. Like, Roos is having a hard time. Pangaea is in the best shape of the team still, probably. Niflheim is having a little bit of a renaissance. Since they've taken Great Feral, they've been able to raid some territory back out. They've sort of re-expanded a little bit, and if anyone gets Machaka, it's probably going to be Niflheim or Pangaea. This raid, obviously, the flying long-distance raid, probably not particularly sustainable, but hey, funny. So that's that. I expect bigger news next turn, so I might make this a short turn, and let's go next turn. We did it. We mad lads bloody did it. So SSG-73, who is twice spawned, by the way. So if killed, global stays up. With a Crystal Coin and a Starshine Skullcap is Astral 8. Astral 8 is sufficient to cast Arcane Nexus. You can see my gem supply is completely destroyed. That is because just about everything got alchemized. I'm sitting on basically my income plus gems. I stripped off mages who were holding them in labs, and we dumped, I think, 700 gems into Arcane Nexus. Something huge, something like the combined wealth that we have saved up over these past many turns of turtling and limited warfare. So Arcane Nexus is now up. Ironically, the space for it was created on the globals list, so we didn't have to risk knocking one of ours down. There were 2 spaces last turn because Beratos' global was held up by one of the brides in waiting that attacked Therados, and when that bride in waiting was killed, the global dropped. So this turn 2 slots were open, 2 got filled, Pangeria's put up Mother Oak again, and we have put up Arcane Nexus. So we as a team have Earthblood, Deepwell, Riches from Beneath, Arcane Nexus, and Vengeful Water. We do not have an obscene amount of territory. We probably have less gold, or at least if not for our scales and Riches from Beneath, we would have less gold than our allies. But we may have more gold than our allies, given the fact that we have pretty freaking good scales going on. 674 income capital, 766 income capital. Like, we're doing okay there. We've got some territory, we've got scales, and Riches from Beneath gives us a little bit of extra income. Now we're going to have obscene gem income. If you look over our last few turns, our gem income has been doing really well out of this war, particularly for Atlantis. You can also see that we have been preaching well up. We have perfect Dominion knowledge, by the way. We've got one of those sites. We are by far the highest Dominion nation alliance left, and that was not the case. There was that time at the start of this game where we were suffering, but we have aggressively pushed by building temples and preaching to the point where we are now leading, and we're going to keep pushing because Vengeful Water defends us in our Dominion. Army size, we're doing okay. Actual incomes, we've lifted a bit. We're doing okay. But it's the gems that are going to save us. So that's the real highlight of this turn. This mage, SSG-73, is now going to run. We've got some careful timing here. So 3 turns until Alt 9. Here's how this works. Teleport, number 1, to an intermediate lab, probably this one. Teleport 2 into a final position, which hopefully the same term I teleport there will be handed over. So I'm not sure it'll be one of these facilities here, maybe here. Either way, hide in this lake. Turn 3, the same term that we are researching Alt 9, is probably an empowerment turn to get to Astral 9, which I believe I need. Embarrassing if I got this wrong. No, I'm correct. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Astral 9. Empowered Astral 9. And then the turn after is the first wish, which will be a wish for gems. And that will put us into the virtuous gem cycle. Not going into that now. I've talked enough theory this turn. Let's keep it happening. We'll talk the theory behind the amazing interaction between Arcane Nexus, Wish, and Pearl Farming. There is a gorgeous interaction of those 3 mechanics that just is stupid, and I'm really looking forward to showing it off if we get that far. So all good. That's the highlight. I shouldn't dwell on it. What else happened? Raided Machaca, didn't achieve anything, but we weren't rehiring the mercenaries anyway. Atlantis, Agatha. This was unfortunate. This could have gone better. Just unlucky and maybe not optimum gearing and scripting. My fault. Mercenaries succeeded. Gartha. Therados attacking Beratos. So this was our first attempt to go into the throne. And this is where everything that Beratos has left is, it seems. There are 39 Britian sages, a commander, an enchanter, 2 enchanters, a mage pilot, a melcart, a stormcaller, and some troops. We sent in 1 Telkeen as a little bit of a have a look-see and poison everything. Here it all is. all these Beridian Sages, for the most part, are, well, a lot of them anyway, are gemmed up in order to do Summon Storm Power and then some really big air evocations. So there goes the Natural Storm. So we're now looking at A2 or A3s. There we are. And a lot of them, Air Elemental's coming out. And they're going to be, I believe, the downfall. Oh no, they're not going to be the downfall. Or at least they're going to have to restrict themselves to trampling him, despite him being high defense, because, well, one, they'll naturally, the smaller guys will try and shock him, but you're not going to do any lightning swarm damage to something that has 22 shock resistance. So he's going to hang around for a bit. A lot of gems being drawn here. This is great. All these elementals coming up. And all this time, a lot of these mages are going to be suffering. I'm just going to check again what killed the Telkine. Was he just trampled? Looks like he was just trampled. Just a lot of trampling. A lot of trampling. So eventually he died. There were also some retreats from that battle. And a lot of poison casualties after the fact. So we just went in to have a look-see. We expected that Telkine to be able to retreat, so we thought it would last longer and get off the field. It didn't get off the field. Unfortunate. Enemy casualties, 11 Beridian Sages, an Enchanter, a Mage Pilot, a Stormcaller. The Stormcaller being their bigger air mage, the one that actually cast the Storm. So there goes that plan. That's done and dusted. A bunch of gems. Not ideal, but at the same time, actually a decent trade. Means that this fort will now, he'll be able to assault this with everything now, knowing that, one, they don't have that trick anymore, two, there's no surprises waiting to like stack our entire army, and there are more Telkines where that came from, trust me. And then we killed another Bone Reader. So. Where does that leave us? Well, next turn we will take Agaria, and then claim it. We will find out next turn if anyone's decided to start the 6-turn nap countdown on Arcane Nexus. We'll also find out if they've decided to stop gem expenditure because of Arcane Nexus. We'll be able to base that by looking at how many gems we spent, how many we get from Arcane Nexus, and thus implying calculating how many gems other people have spent. If it's very low, then we'll know that they're stopping, and you only stop spending gems with Arcane Nexus if you think you're going to be able to dispel. Because think about it, if you're not going to be able to dispel, then all you're doing is denying yourself the benefit of an entire gem forever, because you don't want to give your opponent the benefit of a fraction of a gem. If you never spend a gem, you never get any benefit from it. So the only reason stopping gem expenditure makes sense is if you're instead going to be able to spend that gem later when the opponent won't be able to Arcane Nexus, vacuum it up, and get some benefit from it. So small gem expenditure means expect dispel. Big gem expenditure means they've accepted Arcane Nexus is going to stay up, and just play the game regardless. It's going to take some real diplomatic schmoozing in order to convince people not to come after us now that we have Arcane Nexus. We knew that. We could probably have delayed Arcane Nexus and thus the moment of confrontation, but the benefits are just so heavy and the moment is there, and also, you know, there's still an enemy sort of active and playing, people are still distracted, we probably still have the research lead. It's probably a good idea to run Arcane Nexus now, which is why it's up. I'll try and buy us some turns. People might come for us instead. But in any case, we're now suddenly in a really good position. We will have this huge Astral Pearl income. we will then turn those astral pearls through Wish, we'll turn them into a bunch of elemental gems. The elemental gems Theridos can convert, and to a lesser extent Atlantis can convert, I can't really. They can convert into lots and lots and lots of effective heavy mages and super combatants and thugs. They'll be able to efficiently spend all of those gems, and that will give us combat power well beyond what the legions, the brave legions of Turtle Warriors would ever be able to give you. So, the Underwater Bastards have a plan. And for the first time, they may actually have a hope. Am I getting overconfident? Or are we right? Are we actually... We have had this chat. Are we crazy? Are we crazy to think that we might actually have a chance at making this play? But I and my team, I think we all universally believe now that if you have Arcane Nexus and you have a way to keep it up and you have a way to actually use what it gives you efficiently, and we think we have all three, then who cares if you've got weak nations? You've got a plan. And boy, do we have a plan. See you in turn 56.